Who that? Fall asleep on me again. Who that? Who that? There we go, there we go. I believe we still do have questions. Voice, thank you.
My name is David Hilliard, class of 1960. Handicap parking becomes more of a concern. I have asked about handicap parking for...
You're not going to get anything from a 73-year-old, believe me. I'm with you 100%. Okay.
Good morning. Good morning again. So I'm about 30 days in with athletics this go round, and that is a issue that we've been working on and talked about. As you noted, on the home side of the stadium, we do not have parking at this time. And so we have partnered with the university parking department to try to create a robust transportation and support services scenario that supports seniors, handicapped, and anyone needing special assistance getting to our parking areas to the home side of the stadium. If you look at the way that it's laid out, they actually last year took the parking lot that is closest to the visitor side, and it was designated as a handicap space. The challenge on our campus is that's on game day. Homecoming starts on throughout the week, and it makes it challenging to reserve that space and that capacity. So we have a transportation plan that not only is going to designate more handicap and special needs support services on that type of on that part of the campus, but we also are going to transport and move people from those parking areas that they end up in to the facility and back. That is in a much more convenient support system for them. So the group used the legal term. In the legal sense, we are providing the appropriate number of handicap spaces for that, but it is not located in the area that we have found our fans and visitors need. And so we're going to do that not only by adding spaces, but by adding support resources that move you from wherever you end up to the facility and then back after the game. But did you email me about this? Yes, but yes, you did email me back on this, and you told me exactly that. But the problem is, when the game is over and they end, you might have to wait a long time to get back to where you started. Right. Seniors have needs, medical needs, etc. They might need to go to their car or wherever earlier. Right. It's just extremely inconvenient. Right. So again, what we are setting up is a designated support services for those people. So if you are in that category, last year when you came out the facility, you just came out the facility and people were flagging down and waving carts and asking for assistance. There was no designated place for you to go after the game to get these services. When you leave the facility this year, you will go to the transportation support service area that will be right outside the home side exit. You will be transported from that location to where you're trying to go. That was not something that we had last year.
Thank you, that was a great question.
Should I stay up here, y'all?
Good morning. My name is Keita Williams. I came out of Prairie View in 2012, 2015. Unfortunately, I am the youngest person here, and I have a problem with that. Dr. Simmons, what are your thoughts on millennial?
Job? I mean, clear, every place I've ever been, this has been an issue, because usually when students graduate, they're in the business of starting careers, starting families. They don't have as much time as some of us who have reached the peak of our profession and have time to give back. So, so there are some strategies that I've used elsewhere to try to solve that. It almost invariably involves, where's Phil? It almost invariably involves the Director of Alumni Affairs gathering a group of millennials to come up with the ideas for getting the attention. Did you hear the question? Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I think that's very important, and I think you should talk to Billy afterwards with any ideas you have about how to get that started. Billy is just coming to realize what he's taken on. So, good question.
Great question. You have another question?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Velma Spears Penn, spring 1996, graduate of Prairie View Electrical Engineering. One of the gentlemen brought up the fact of foreign professors that we have at Prairie View. I'm not sure in the difference of the millennials versus when we graduated. The foreign professors, as long as their written communication is perfect, which I have no complaints of the foreign professors that we had, because the written communication was good. That's not a problem, especially in engineering, because their spoken English may not be good, but their written communication, and I have no complaints about that. So I'm not exactly sure what the problem is in other areas outside of your sciences, because we had foreign professors. I work with, for those of you who don't know, I work in one of the aerospace engineering giants, Northrop Grumman. I've been there for 22 years, since I walked out of the door of Prairie View. They're the ones who picked me up, and I've been there for a long time. I work with white male engineers from every university you can imagine, and they had foreign professors too. So they had the same experience that we had with the foreign professors. As long as those professors' written communication is on point, they're teaching us just as good as any other university. It's not a problem. It really is not. Another thing with the younger people, I'm finding we have to get them engaged, because United States, and if you listen to the news, they say it all the time, in your science and engineering, we're falling behind. I have sons, and they were better than me in math at a younger age. But yet, when they saw the work that I did at the time, I was working in FPGA design, which is field programmable gate arrays. I work in spacecraft interface design now. They said, your work is too hard, but they're sharper than me in math and science at a younger age they were. So trying to get the young people to stay focused, that you know have strong math and science skills, is, I don't even know how to deal with that. I'm still trying to get females to understand that we are strong in math and science. I try to get them to understand that if you can keep a store from taking advantage of you financially, then you're good in decimals, you're good in fractions, you're good in percentages. So you can't say that you don't really understand mathematics. You can't say that, because you really do understand it if you can walk in a store and buy shoes and a dress and all of these clothes, and then you say you don't know math, but yes you do. So my concern is just trying to get us as interested as I see, because that's the environment I work in. I work in the, and a lot of times I feel inadequate because some of these, how to keep the young people engaged in the science and engineering, and I don't think it stops.
Was that a question?
Dr. Ruth, when Dr. Ruth said
No, that
they
was
pay
very
attention to that.
Could I just add a wrinkle to this, which just popped up in my mind, and I know you all follow this. bent on eliminating affirmative action. That is what the Supreme Court battle is all about. That is what minority kids out of the nations where they are today. And so we have to be ready to mount the programs that will do this work. I believe that ABET has long said that because those same prerequisites. So I think it's a very innovative, in a different world in terms of technology, in terms of all of the tools available to students, celebrate bringing African American students more prepared to innovate with regard to prerequisites and with regard to the curriculum. So I created a whole program around the new ABET, the A5. Those are thinking about the world that's coming, where our singular responsibility will be students who are now going to have to find a way into professions through places like Prairie View.
Great question, great comment. My name is Robert Evans with the Fort Worth chapter. Has there been any thought about expanding into the North Texas area as far as graduate program or undergraduate? You know, there's only one that I'm aware of, African American University, which is Paul Quinn in Dallas. But outside of that, there is no other HBCU presence in the community of Dallas and Fort Worth. So.
I don't know the leery of it. I'll tell you why. With how good we are. I think we are not ready for expansion until we get our act together right here, right now. And so one of the ways that that universities have of really spreading themselves too thin is doing precisely that. I want us to have a state-of-the-art academic, the best place. That's when you expand into areas. And so my view would be it's not timely. That would be a good thing to do one day, but probably not right now. We have an outpost in Northwest Houston. We have trouble doing that. And it's in Houston. So let's get our act together. Let's be as strong as we can be. And then, believe me, people will be begging us for satellite campuses. You know, of course, that with a number of different corporations, we have joint programs where we are actually offering courses with.
Great question.
I'm Benny Lockett, class of '61, and this is an old question that was raised last year. And this is in regards to the monies that the classes donate for scholarships for students. Mm-hmm. And according to the president of the NAA, that we have some $2.5 million in money to work closer with development people, because some years in my class no scholarships have been awarded. And I'd just like to see us work a little closer together.
Outrageous, actually, yeah. As I had mentioned last year, having scholarships all over the place is not a very good thing to do. So we've started moving scholarships centrally so that when there's a student sitting there in need of financial aid has the capacity to make the decision to award, okay? So what I've been saying to donors, don't load up a scholarship with restrictions. Now, I just set up a scholarship in my parents' name, and you know, that scholarship is now almost close to $1 million because people have contributed to it. And so that means that when it is as an endowed scholarship, it ought to just be used like that. I don't even want a GPA requirement on it. That their university gave them a chance, although they were not a very good student, but they gave them financial aid, and now they are just flourishing, okay? So you don't want to load down a scholarship with a lot of things. So we're going to be going systematically through the scholarships where people are still around and can help us revise them to take away, I could have put on my scholarships and so my parents were from Grapeland, Texas. I could have said, it has to be somebody from Grapeland, but there are 900 people in Grapeland. Structuring so that it'd be easier for people to make the decision. They shouldn't be sitting out in the colleges, where the colleges are not keeping track and where they're busy and don't have time to be thinking about a process for awarding, separate process to apply scholarship, okay? You should be able to go into financial aid and they see, okay, you have X amount in federal funds, you have a gap of $5,000. Okay, here's a scholarship over here. We'll put that on your financial aid package. It ought to be that simple. So our students, I think you know, one of our biggest complaints on campus is the way that we do financial aid. So the secret is, let's don't tie our hands to get that money to the students as soon as possible. And then when we build the annual fund to the requisite level, those unrestricted dollars, I'm going to insist that the first priority for annual fund dollars has to be financial aid. The number of students who come to see me who don't have $135, and because they can't come up with $135, I'm full of the fact that we have an incredible privilege here, an incredible privilege. I have seen so many well-off students go to college, and it's easy. They don't have to worry about where the money is coming. They have often been beaten down. And when we come along and we say, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that, it just makes it. And this is why I'm so excited about our new vice president. We do some silly things with our students. I had a student come to me who said, out of school, and he had been turned into the police because he painted a mural on the wall. Well, that's a terrible thing to do. You can't deface university property. It's a terrible thing to do. But you don't get to go to jail because you did it, right? So he came back because there are all kinds of complications, but they had, the police had, because we mandated that in order for him, that he had to pay us $9,000 to pay for what he had done to the wall. Now, accountability is fine for us, because we're grown-ups. But you take a teenager whose mind is really not even half developed anyway, and they do something like for 2 years because they made a mistake like that. So we've got to have the kinds of programs that acknowledge the students that we actually have. Okay? And the last thing in the world we want to do is to be putting our kids in jail. That's the last thing in the world we want to do. So, yes, they can't pay their bill. You know, $135, they can't pay their bill. We're going to be helping them find ways to meet their obligations instead of punishing them all the time because they are poor. That's all it is. They just happen to be poor. Okay? You get no respect out there. And you're coming to your university and you're going to be treated that way. The indignities continue in the place that you love most? No, we're not doing that. So our new vice president, Simmons, you know, you can be sure I grilled him about how he's going to treat our students and what kind of policies they're going to have. And you will be so, you know, they have an attitude. So he's dealt with, so he comes ready. Yes, sir.
We have a clarification in reference to the scholarship. Do we have a question real quick?
All right, thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Renee Dorn, and I'm Vice President of the Los Angeles Alumni Chapter. And I just wanted to get some clarification regarding the scholarships because our chapter has been having an issue where students automatically go into the student's account once we told someone in financial aid or the scholarship office what students would be eligible for our scholarships. Then maybe a few years ago, Dr. Wright had mentioned to us, we can't do that anymore, and that we cannot select the scholarship recipients. So we stopped selecting the scholarship recipients. We were told that there is a committee on campus that does the selection of the students. So we're at the point now where we don't know what students are receiving any scholarships from, the Los Angeles chapter. And a lot of times we want to get in touch with the students, with the families, to see if they need any assistance, but we don't know who the students are. And we don't, at this point, even know if money is being given.
You would get a report saying, here are the individuals who are on your scholarship, okay? It's routine. This is the problem that we have had. This is a problem that Carmi has been hired to fix, okay? She started in January. Have you fixed it yet, Carmi? She hasn't had time. She hasn't had time. Give her time.
February. No, but
Oh.
yes, we're working on it.
There is no money being taken out of our endowment anymore. So we can tell that you're not giving it away because we get the report every month. Is it monthly? We get in the endowment,
So
and
what-
it's not moving.
What you're doing is you're making the case for me for what I said earlier, okay? That we have serious problems in execution, and until we get people in place who know how to execute and how to set the right standards and the right process, these are going to be continuing problems. But that team is being hired, and so next year at this time, if you find that that is the case, then I'll have a conversation with Carmen. Okay? So, but right now, she has not had enough time. But it pains me today, telling me that they are in desperate need. Okay? But one of the things I want you to think about, Southern California is fine and all, but you need to open that up to students from other, yes, you need to open it up to students from other areas. Because if you open it up to students from other areas, it will get spent faster, okay? So I just, didn't you hear my story about not putting, well, who's here from Southern California? Who might be eligible? Is their GPA appropriate? Are they at the right stage in their career? When you have to go through all tests, it's not going to happen that quickly. So, like I said, whenever I make a gift for financial aid, there are no conditions at all. Give it to someone who needs it. So, you might want to talk about that and revise your gift agreement, or make it broader. I know there's a thing between Southern California and Northern California, but would you allow Northern Californians in? They're not sure. Okay. Okay. Well, you gotta make it broader. Yes, sir.
But we have 2 more questions on this side, and I'll be back over there.
Mine is not a question, it's a comment.
Okay.
Customer service, class of '66. I'm coming from a military background and a lot of travel throughout the states, but customer service. And what I want to do is just give you one example. There are about 3 persons over the years that I call when incoming persons, and the example is that about last week, matter of fact, I talked to Billy about this last night. Last week, I had my TV shirt on, and a parent said that we have a young daughter that will be going to Prairie View. And I said, okay, my wife and I always invite the new students to come by the house, we sit down and talk to them. And so this young lady left out of church, and immediately I got on the phone and I called one of those persons, Mark Pearson. I said, this young lady has been calling the Prairie View. She cannot get a response to her answers, and she's going to drive to Prairie View. She came last Tuesday. I said, when you return, matter of fact, on that telephone call, this young lady's, I let her speak to Mark and left her cell number on there. And so the next day, I called Mark. I said, Mark, did you get the call? He said, yes. He said, I'm gonna call the young lady. The young lady came over about 30 minutes after Mark called her. So when she came back to clean, we sat down and we talked to her. But the point I'm trying to make here is that she had to come down here in order to get what she needed from the university. She could not receive what she was requesting on the telephone. Customer service. And there are persons that have gone to other universities because of the lack of customer service. Now, like I said, Billy and I talked about this last night. I know that you cannot rectify poor at Prairie View.
Let me just, you won't get much of an argument for me, but I want to correct the impression, is uniformly poor at Prairie View. There are people who pour their hearts out, what any other place might do to serve students, to answer questions, so forth. But unfortunately, there are enough places where it doesn't work well that colors the whole people's impression of Prairie View. That's what I was alluding to earlier. It is a serious problem for us in our profile. And so we need to work on it. It needs to get better. But let me tell you one of the things that, oddly enough, was one of my greatest dilemmas. People would call and they couldn't get a person on the phone. And so that was pretty clear. Everybody was telling us that, you know, the frustration about that alone was very serious at Prairie View. And so what we've now done is really provided guidance to offices that they must have someone answering the phone. Now, if they didn't know that before, they know it now. And so you can legitimately now say, if you can't question, it is a serious problem. And just to make you feel, I'll tell you about an experience that I had recently. So I was trying to routed me to somebody else. I got a recording there. I got in a round robin. I was never able to speak to the same kinds of systems. There are systems intended to allow for a smaller number of employees, and so the employees have to be available to do the work that needs to be done, and so they have these automated systems everywhere. You get it, of course, when you call any office, probably. That's the way it is right now. But I think in universities, you don't want to. How don't things get solved? That people are in jobs that they understand and that they know how to problem solve. Because often the issue...
Great questions. We're going to close off this
I'm
portion.
sorry, but you promised him you were coming over there.
There are other presentations, and we're running close to lunch, and so I don't want to mess with your lunch. This will be the last question.
I'll keep it very short. My name is Rayford Shaw. I'm the president of the San Antonio chapter and everything else. The previous question that was raised about a Los Angeles, California group out there that talked about endowment and award to the different students and everything else. San Antonio chapter experienced the same problem. I'm not raising it from a Rayford Shaw point of view and everything else. And to give you a good example of what I'm talking about. We make award for scholarships during the freshman year. That covers the whole freshman year. But we have about 10 students that's at Prairie View, and we have somewhat just slightly under $100,000 in the endowment. Now the problem we have is, if you're a sophomore through senior, you continue to get a scholarship each year. And we've had some communication problems here. And the problem is that now, I'm not only getting calls from Johnny, Jackie, and the people like that, but guess what? Their parents are calling too and say, hey, I can't afford to keep all these kids in school and everything. Where's the money? They got it all taken care of. A week later, I get a call from the student saying, never heard of it, didn't get a dime. Where's the money? So we kind of keep going through the process. Just recently here, our alumni chapter president gave us a sheet showing from the university saying, hey, these are all the students you have, what you're gonna get the breakdown, and it came from the office there. That is good. I think our biggest problem is communication.
Yes.
If you change the rule, now, one of the problems we had too, we've been fighting this thing back and forth and everything else. I'm in San Antonio, and you give a scholarship to somebody from Houston. Well, what happened to my students in San Antonio? So now we got a challenge there. If the rules have changed, I understand that, and I agree with you. Take location and some of the other things off the table. But tell me that before you start giving my money away. If you don't tell me now, I got a hostile attitude about this whole thing.
Yes, of course.
So when you call me,
Well, they shouldn't have awarded.
That's right. So
Your
what-
gift agreement is a legal agreement. We are obligated to do what you say you want done with the funds.
If you change the rule, tell me, then I will live with the rules and everything else. But if you don't change the rule and start giving my money away, I just don't feel so good.
What I'm saying is we can't change the rules. If you have a gift agreement, if you had money taken from your endowment for a student who was not qualified, ask for your money back. Because it shouldn't have been given to somebody who wasn't a San Antonio person.
The students were qualified, but we had specified, I'm looking for San Antonio guys, not the.
As I said, if they're not I got you.
We'll support it.
Question.
Well, we're getting ready. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Terrence Finley, and I'm here on behalf of our CFO and Senior President of Business Affairs, Dr. Corey Bradford. I bring you greetings from Business Affairs, and I thank you for allowing me to join you this morning. Very clear in saying, hey, Finley, one of the things is they don't know you. Let's make sure you share some things about you. So, that being said, once again, my name is Terrence Finley. I am very family-oriented. My wife's name is Pam. We have 4 children, the eldest being Lachey, the next being Terrence Jr., and Tori, and then our youngest is Tyree. Tyree is also a proud alumnus of this university, a 2012 graduate of agriculture program. And I joined the Prairie View family as an employee in 2013. After my wife and I both graduated and completed our PhDs together here at Prairie View from the Willow Art Green College of Education. So we too are very proud Prairie View alumni. I am a proud member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and I actually hail from New York. Once again, good morning, and thank you for having me. One of the key messages we wanted to give this morning is that from a fiscal health standpoint, we're in great shape. So much so that we're still among the healthiest, if you will, in fiscal health across the annual system. Our fiscal 2019 budget should approach $250 million, which actually puts us in the top 5